I consider Mr. Allen at Three Sisters Forge a friend and also a very valuable resource. He has helped impart a lot of knowledge, even considered me for a job, and I appreciate that a lot. So I hope, Mr. Allen, that this video is done correctly. Now, a couple things to first mention is that on my channel I do emphasize tactical, and I'm going to try to continuously re-emphasize this point, so I hope it doesn't get too boring as you hear this over and over in each video. You know, to me, tactical just means you have options. In any situation, you're at an advantage if you have more options on hand. It's more about having that safety when those situations arise and you possibly do something or need to do something with your tools that is out of the ordinary. You know, you're not, how you say, stuck. You know, whether it be you've paid a little bit more, or you went a little bit, overbuilt on the knife, because it's just in case. You know, it never hurts to just have that little bit of extra security. Accidents can happen, and many other reasons why that I feel that a lot of the aspects I talk about on all my videos are necessary. This is the Three Sisters Forge credit card tactical, and to show real fast before I put together and continue the review, these washers here, you can see here's the washers. Now today's little video is right here because I'll admit Neptune's not known for good video quality, so I'm trying to do this in the best lighting I can provide so I can get good resolution. But you see, these are some very thick, they're thick washers. If you had it in person, you'd be like, whoa. Here you can see the stop pin and all the two stand-ups. They're not, this stop pin shoulder, but the two stand-ups are not. So the screws directly go into these tubes, and basically, so they can spin, but the tolerances here are pretty strong, so I was able to take it apart with no problem. And you can see it's very simple, just a frame lock. Of course, Jim carbidizes his lock bar, so if you could somehow see, there's a graininess present. There we go. And that is to help preserve the lock bar. And you can see here's the pot clip. It's got the whole finish has a sort of I guess you could say it's like a bead blasted, sand blasted finish, one of those, and also slightly stone washed or tumbled to give it a texture, sort of a pattern. Looks really nice. Here's the water jet titanium side. The tolerances on that are really well liked because I had to actually kind of pry it apart. See here, nice little texture. You see this titanium construction, look at that thick titanium, and look at the blade profile. And I'm going to compare this, of course, to the Subcom. First thing, a little backstory, kind of start to get this out there. Jim at Three Sisters Forge is a retired doctor, like an actual doctor, and he lost the use of one of his hands. Medical things can happen, and since then he decided to pick up. He had experienced in his childhood through a family friend who was in the I think World War II, that taught him a lot about steels and basically forging. And so then Jim started Three Sisters Forge, and so Jim makes all these knives by himself. So it's a one-man, one-hand show. So right off the bat are the fit and finish. Okay, is the fit good? And so far, all of mine, and I have a second credit card tactical. I wish I had it here, but it is centered. The fit is good. All my blades have been centered from him. The Super Beast was centered. The tolerances are good. But is the finish? It's decent finish. Let's say, for example, the sharpness of the knife when you receive it, I can do it much better. But the thing is, of course, regardless, that's something you can do on your own. You have to realize, the individual, the difficulty he may have perhaps doing this. So you can see here, as I put it back together, you see, look how thick that blade stock is. Now here's pull out the Subcom. And then, Subcoms are always off-center. Mine doesn't have washers in it because I just don't really care. You saw my video, is annoying, but you can see the difference between these two. I mean, look at that. You can see how centered that is just by me replacing it back together like this around camera while talking to you guys. Now I'm really paying attention very much. This knife, now, okay, it looks like the Subcom. So one might say this is a Subcom. Here's the kind of thing. Now, this statement is going to enrage people, but, you know, it is what it is, and if it enrages you, then that's you. You're the one who's upset, not me. For me, I don't care. It's naive to think that people reached the top, you know, and didn't have to trample over anyone. And the original design, and I'm not saying Mr. Los Baños copied Jim. The point of it being, though, is it's not really relevant because, you know, other people have said this to me. For example, Sharp Spears, he had said that, you know, whoever created the frame lock, whoever created the axis lock, was it really, you know, Benchmade? Was it really, you know, who did the first Warncliffe blade? And this is his point. He's saying that, you know, knife making is a community, and the knife world is a community. So to say that one individual was the only person that ever did it first and claimed the rights to it, it's kind of like saying Edison and Nikolai Tesla, when those two, you know, which one came up with the, you know, the idea. You know, one person became rich, one person didn't. But I mean, was it just purely one man's, you know, vision? It's hard to say, and it's something we'll never know. So it's something really that isn't, I would say, something to preoccupy yourself or fret over too much. The point being is which one's done right and which one's going to serve you the proper way, and that's the Three Sisters Forge. Many people love the Subcom, and so that's why I'm very excited to show this credit card tactical, which I haven't seen a review really on it, and perhaps people don't know about it, but it just totally blows the Subcom out of the water. If you like the Subcom, here is what you should have got. Do I like this more than a Sabenza? Yeah, I like this knife. This knife is cool. And I'll keep going into it as why. You know, and the other thing to consider for me is this: the Subcom, you know, designed by Mr. Los Baños, who doesn't make knives. He just somehow designed it. And the point being is, though, this is made by a knife maker. This is by someone who actually puts his time and sweat into doing. And Jim really focuses on getting the best he can get because of he got. Now, all the statements I make, he wants me to mention, I want to mention too, that these are my commentary on him and his knives. These are not statements that he wanted me to say, nor does he endorse. This is what I see, okay? But the point is that he was telling me that this credit card tactical is one of the more popular, especially among law enforcement, because of its sort of, like, I guess you could say, stealth capabilities. You know, civilians will use it as pot clips, you know, money clips. And that's the thing to realize, though, when I talk about tactical and how things are overbuilt, you got to realize, okay, the YouTube community is also watched by people who are in armed services and stuff like that, first responders. And those individuals will be breaking car doors and glass and chopping things and doing more extreme tasks. So all the testing is for that. And that's why I like the Subcom. Because the Subcom, well, now the credit card tactical, one of the most beautiful things about it was, even though it was a small knife, it kept its its cutting edge to the max, if it could be, but at the same time provide a very deep finger choil that, you know, really guarantees there's no way it's going to come out of your hand. And then that's what this credit card tactical does, and that's what the Subcom did. And if anything, actually, between the two, the most distinguished difference in terms of ergonomics is this right here. On the Subcom, you hold it and there's jimping everywhere, and okay, the jimping's somewhat effective, it's because it's so rounded, and it tends to be that your focus on grip is up here with these two fingers. It really is. It just feels that way, and everything else kind of just, it sits into your palm right here and it kind of locks in. Jim's, he has this little arch. Now, for better or worse, some people may not like it. I could see why, because perhaps it does, you know, catch, but at the same time, if you hold it this way, it feels much more secure, especially when you're holding further back. And once you figure out that you're supposed to hold this way, it locks in much more because of that. And especially with the more texture, the bead blasting or sandblasting, it's much better. And onto the construction of it, let's see, like for example, the pot clip. First of all, the tension, if you have a Subcom, it's the same, except for the fact that Jim's hardware is all 440C hardened, so that's you know, just like you know, Jim Burke, just the best of the best. That's you know, as best you can get for hardware. And Jim's really nice. He has his warranty where he suggests he doesn't really want anyone to take it apart, the knife apart. So if you do, you know, perhaps you're avoiding a warranty. But I don't think he's the kind of person that wouldn't say he'll mail you a screw or not. I mean, he seems pretty cool. He has like this guarantee satisfaction thing. You can return it if you know, and he'll fix anything that needs to be fixed. And you can see here the thumb lug. Now the Subcom offers ambidextrous use. Both thumb stubs are removable, but the Subcom, you know, you can see, you know, this one, you can see the position of the thumb lug is different, and that could bother some people. Like for me, the Subcom is in a good spot, that thumb lug, while Jim he relocates it further down, and it just depends how you're holding it. I mean, I think it just really just depends. I mean, it's kind of good, you know, no problem either. Just the main difference, I would say, is just the height of it and the traction of it is much more effective. You got the titanium, and he makes, depending to requests, you can have thicker or thinner stock titanium. Of course, he uses aircraft grade. Now his blade steel, he uses 154 cm, and you know, if you ask him, I had to ask him, you know, like S35 or something. He prefers, and out of his feedback from customers, he prefers and they prefer 154 cm. And you know, 154 cm is something you see on this Trezula Strider. I mean, Bob Trezula really loved 154 cm, and this is CPM, so it's more finer grain, basically a little bit better performance than normal 154 cm. And you know, just a lot of knives, like Jim Burke, just a lot of knives makers. Shane Siebert used to use 154 cm. It's just a popular steel, and I would say one of the main reasons why, in terms of performance then, of what you're going to have the steel, for those who don't know. First of all, Jim triple cryo and heat treats them, meaning 3 times the steel is heated, then cooled, then heated, you know, and repeated that process. And each time he doesn't hammer it, he removes the stock. To basically what tempering or heat treating will do is kind of bring all the molecules closer together and basically increase the toughness. And so it guarantees that not only you're getting, you know, of course, you know, edge retention, but you're getting toughness so that it's less chance of breaking or fracturing or chipping. And the fact that for me, I like it because it's not, okay, if you compare it to S30, and if you go on the website, my website, you'll see on this credit card tactical, there's a graph. You know, S30's corrosion resistance is what it lists, but really we're talking rust resistance is much higher. And so 154 cm isn't necessarily like that. How would you say rust free? You know, rust resistant. What it is, 154 cm is a chrome moly mix, meaning a chromium to make it stainless, so it's a stainless steel, with molybdenum, which is a tool steel. There's not enough molybdenum in it to bring it up to the level of an actual formal tool steel, and if there were, you know, more molybdenum or something, you would have, you know, nevertheless a more brittle steel because there'd be too much chromium, too much metal in it, too many alloys besides the iron. But what happens is 154 cm is a good steel because it's overall corrosion resistant in terms of it resists corrosion from other things, not just rust. Molybdenum helps keep everything bonded together, kind of like glue, I guess. And so when you have 154 cm, like for example, that's why you can dry lubricate it, because graphite can promote corrosion, and molybdenum in 154 cm can resist that. So it's a very, in terms of like resistance to chemicals and other things and heat and elements and temperatures, 154 cm is overall versatile and resistant. So that's what really makes it special to me. And in terms of sharpening, if you watch the Hinder video, the sharpening is easier too, and Trezula uses it, and I enjoy it. And the next aspect to consider is this: when you have steels that are how you say, like harder, like S30V, to repeat this idea that when you have a knife and the steel is hard, and you take it to something soft, for example, shave hair or to shave, the point is it doesn't catch soft things well. Harder steels tend to grab harder, you have to push harder on harder objects, while softer steels, like on razor blades or titanium blades, those shave well, but they lose their edge so fast, but because they're so soft. And so a sort of middle ground is 154 cm in my opinion. I mean, it's above 40C. The toughness is the same as S30V. The wear resistance just slightly below, in my opinion, S30V. It's still above D2, above 40C. Nowhere near, of course, CTS 20CP. But the point is, you're getting a steel that's versatile enough to do, how you say, a variety of cutting tasks in that sense. Definitely more for outdoor or indoor light, medium, cutting things. Definitely nothing industrial or like that, but good. I mean, just really use it in terms of tactical folders. And that's another thing to consider too, is look at this, the blade's thickness here. You see, it's almost at 4 millimeters. If not 4 millimeters, it's almost. It's maybe somewhere between 3 to 4 millimeters thick blade here, and you can see. I mean, so when you just compare, I mean, look at that. You're getting this really strong blade out of this. Until you hold it, man, it feels like rock solid. I like it. It's rock solid. It's normally me, I don't go all like I say like giddy over a knife, but this one really is rock solid. The lockup's really early. You can see like it's hard to even get always locked right now. That lock bar needs to start wearing in with use, But that's the thing that's nice about the Subcom or the CCT now. Sorry, no more Subcom. Forget Boker and this cheap China-made screws and stuff, right? We're talking, this is American-made heavy-duty stuff. This, even when it unlocks, that's the beauty of this design, is that there's no way you can hurt yourself, and you can keep pushing whatever you're trying to do. You can see here the pocket clip screws are identical to the handle screws, so they can serve as backups. Oh, the pivot is also a pretty good stock compared to, he was saying it's to the average is like 0.125 something. His is at 0.157, something like that. You got these really thick washers. I mean, the fact that you can visibly see them like that, and then good tolerances. Like I said, the fit is great, and the finish is decent. I mean, the only thing this one has is perhaps a little odd wearing right there, tooling right there on the thumb lug top surface, and a little bit odd scuffs right here on that. Probably camera can't catch that, but regardless, that's about it. This is one that I think you should really look at and consider if it's one Subcom's one of your favorite knives. The Subcom is limited in many ways, and also in terms of durability. You can see how the lock bar of the Subcom. You can look at how the lock bar of what you got for room. And so if you're wanting basically a serious heavy-duty version of the Subcom done with the best procedures that can be done to make a knife, this is the one you want to go for. Let me put a little more size comparison. The thing, a lot of people, you'll hear them say, and I feel the same way. You get a knife, but you want more than that. I mean, you really do. You want to be able to ask questions. You want to be able to get to know perhaps the knife maker. You want to just be able to have an experience with it. To have perhaps a friend, perhaps just some sentimentality, to be able to say, man, this was made by someone that was cool, that cares, like that. You just want that relationship. And people are always talking about this, how they would like a better relationship with Strider. And the point is, yeah, how some custom knife makers, you have to wait a month before your order, or you'll send an email and they won't reply for a week or 2 weeks, and and it's always appreciated when someone replies immediately. For better or worse, people are different, and whether they're busier or perhaps they're just not computer people. I can say, as for Three Sisters Forge, that's one of the things that I like most. That perhaps for me, one of the reasons why I enjoy Three Sisters Forge. He is somebody that you can feel good about. You can feel good, like honestly, legitimately good in this world of knives. And if you guys have not had experience from dealing with custom knife makers and buying and trading, I mean, the world of knives, the YouTube community is pretty cool, but there's still everywhere. There's always assholes. And when it comes to like the custom knife world, Mr. Allen is by far, if I could have a little contest of who's my favorite, vote, I would vote on Three Sisters Forge, because he's just such a nice gentleman. If you get to know him, quirky but really cool, and just compared to what's out there. And last note, because I gotta let you know, gotta be honest here. The pivot is not shouldered, so when you tighten down one side, the other side keeps spinning, and it kind of is difficult because now this pocket clip covers that screw, so it makes it not hard to access. So you have to remove the pocket clip, at least one of the screws, turn the pocket clip around a little bit, and then get two tools to tighten the pivot down. That's my only gripe. You know, and but that's the thing. It is important to mention this too. I talked to Jim about some of his design things, and the thing is, you know, being that he's you know, a knife maker that's you know not like he was not mass producing and stuff. He has limitations to what kind of parts and things he can do. So to the best of his ability, he's always trying to improve, and he was telling me about that, and he responded very positively to some of my criticisms. That is one limitation, and just to let you know, so it's a little bit of a mechanical gripe that's not really perhaps his fault, just it's kind of annoying, as you can see. So, and I just want you to know, of course, with all this construction and that perfect centering and tight tolerances, there's no blade play. This thing is rock solid. You know, it's weird because it might look the same, in terms of thickness, especially on the lock side, but it really doesn't feel the same. I don't know why. I asked Jim. He said, it's the same stuff he was using all the time. Just, perhaps the titanium on this one is not aircraft grade, and maybe that's something that has to do with it, because this one has a sort of a sponginess that you can just kind of feel it on the lock bar. It just doesn't feel. The Subcom never really felt sturdy. This one feels like Sabenza sturdy.